If you've been making excuses for not watching over your breast health, look at these faces of experience. They know it doesn't matter how old you are or if you've had a family history of breast cancer. Race, weight, height, or income doesn't matter either. The fact is, the biggest risk factor for getting breast cancer is being a woman. Call and learn about low-cost, even free breast exams this October 23rd. There's no excuse worth your life. No excuse.
The idea was born out of the belief that thousands of people are living, not dying from breast cancer. No one knows that better than survivor Sherry Hall Smith. It started with a trip to the White House. Sherry Hall Smith and other breast cancer survivors were singled out for their efforts promoting breast cancer awareness.
I'm getting married next month, and I hope to have children someday, and I hope that if I have a daughter, that she never, ever has to deal with this. I hope that she looks at this and says, Mom, did you have cars and did you have television? And boy, there wasn't a cure for breast cancer then, so that's what I hope for.
From that trip to Washington came another hope, an idea. Come next week, the vision becomes reality.
It's going to be 8 feet long, by 20 feet high, like an accordion style that you can walk through. So
more than 200 survivors wrote in with their inspiring stories. 15 people were picked to be photographed and are now Rochester's Faces of Hope.
My hope in having this photo exhibit, I think this is the first step of many of making sure that not only do breast cancer survivors have hope and inspiration, but also people who have never been diagnosed will start taking care of their breast health. Because early detection is still the key.
It was the key to saving Sherry's life. Cancer-free for almost 2 years, she's now giving life. She and her husband are expecting their first baby next month.
The findings are very timely because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you've never appreciated the importance of it before, you probably will now after meeting 15 Faces of Hope. They are 15 people who never knew each other before. Now they share a very strong bond. Each one is a breast cancer survivor. They've been chosen for a photo exhibit called The Faces of Hope because in the face of cancer, they found a new appreciation of life. Evelyn Weir was diagnosed with breast cancer 20 years ago.
I think that having an exhibit like this will bring hope to many people who, if they were suddenly informed that they had breast cancer, would think this is the end of the world. And then to have someone say, like me, who is in her 80s, standing here and telling you, go ahead and live it up and have an upbeat attitude. I think the attitude is a lot to do with recovery.
Something called the Faces of Hope. It's an exhibit featuring local survivors of breast cancer. The exhibit has been touring nationally, just last in Washington. It decided to make a stop here at the Rochester International because this is a cause the Rochester International, the LPGA, has taken on. And one of the golfers here, Shelley Hamlin, is also a breast cancer survivor.
Golf, you know, you always, no matter how bad you hit it, you always have that next shot. Well, in life, you know, there is a next shot. There is something you can do to fight for your life.
4 years ago, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, Hamlin fought back with a mastectomy. One of her fellow pros, Heather Farr, died from breast cancer in 1993. And Farr's death at the age of 28 is a poignant memory for Hamlin. So the pro with 24 years experience on the LPGA Tour is helping to publicize a local gallery of 15 fighters who survived that same battle.
The battle against breast cancer can be won. Proof that can be found in the faces of local survivors. And now there's a new opportunity for you to see these faces of hope. The faces are difficult to miss, and that's the point. The Faces of Hope exhibit features the faces of breast cancer survivors, and the point there is that they are survivors. The idea for this exhibit was born after a trip to Washington 3 years ago and a visit to the Women's National Museum to see the Faces of Breast Cancer exhibit. It was not what Sherry expected.
It was this exhibit, beautifully done, of these wonderful women, but all the women had died of breast cancer. And for me, as a breast cancer survivor, I found it very depressing and very discouraging. I'd only been a survivor for 1 year and, you know, had all these great hopes, and then I saw these women, they're beautiful, they're successful, they have wonderful families, and they had all died from it.
She says it brought her from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows.
I was just so down, and I got on the plane and I'm flying home, and I just looked at him and I said, you know what I want to do? I want to do a photo exhibit of women that survived this disease, because so many more of us survive it. And I think that seeing people who die are it's not only a disaster for women who have been diagnosed, but it's also going to create fear and denial in women who haven't been diagnosed, and then they might not detect theirs as early.
So the first Faces of Hope exhibit was unveiled in 1994. This eye-catching 1996 version has found a home at Eastview Mall.
To put it permanently up at Eastview Mall, where there's hundreds of thousands of people, and many, many people that don't even know that they want to see this or need to see this are going to be able to see that and benefit from it.
QRSTUV. So now Sherry's pledge to keep women informed about early detection has taken on a whole new meaning with Sydney.
Cancer had a very life-changing way of changing my perspective. But Sydney, it's a whole nother level of it, and I think that she is probably the reason it's propelled me to even renew my own interest of getting the message out there. After having Sydney, I have a whole different reason for making sure that breast cancer is eradicated before she grows to be an adult.
Come here,
Wendy Martinez is also telling her story of triumph in a photo exhibit called Faces of Hope. Stories of how a strong will to live helped the women beat cancer. Martinez had a cancerous lump removed from her breast while she was pregnant with her first child.
I have so much to live for. I have 2 kids. You know, I wasn't going to let this get in my way.
This year alone, 186,000 women in the U.S. will be diagnosed with breast cancer, but more encouraging, 1.5 million survivors like Irene and Wendy are alive today.
Today, 12 Tampa Bay women are being recognized as inspirational role models. Their faces are on display in a traveling photo exhibit. Faces of Hope debuted today at the Ladies Pro-Am Golf Tournament at the JCPenney Golf Classic in Innisbrook. Porter Buick dealers and the Moffitt Cancer Center are sponsoring it to encourage early detection.
All had doubts at some point if they would survive.
It's why Sherry Hall Smith started Faces of Hope. She was 36 when she was diagnosed 5 years ago. It was days before an anticipated wedding proposal from Greg.
It's the chills when you get the chills. It was that all night.
They married and together survived her mastectomy and chemotherapy. And today,
I think there's no better testament is when you see that little girl. That's just the joy of our life, and that in itself says it all.
They're expecting another daughter in April.
Make sure your lady is checking herself. There's nothing to be afraid of. Just go do it.
Well, finally tonight, local survivors of breast cancer are honored in a new exhibit that's positively Rochester. The Faces of Hope display is now portable. The 8x10 version was unveiled today. The Faces of Hope honors breast cancer survivors in our community. This new, smaller version will travel to schools, hospitals, and even the airport. The goal, to reach more people in our community and educate them about the importance of early detection.
When I was diagnosed, there was not a face of hope for me. And I didn't know that it happened to African American women. And then I found out afterwards that it did, but they didn't come forward, they didn't talk about it.
And this is the only traveling exhibit of its kind in the state. And I haven't seen the one at Eastview, but you were talking about that. There's a wall up there.
Yes, it's impressive. A lot of great stories up there, and I'm sure if this one's anything like it, it will be good too.
They battled breast cancer, and now they've won. 27 local survivors are paving the way for other cancer survivors. They're doing it through a traveling exhibit called Faces of Hope. It was unveiled today at Shadow Lake Golf Club with the help of Senator Alphonse D'Amato, who has lobbied for the rights of breast cancer sufferers. The exhibit uses photos and personal messages to inspire others who are fighting breast cancer.
We don't want to create a fear that it could happen to them, but we don't want them to think it can't happen to them, because early detection is the key in breast cancer.
Young girls, women that are 25, are not candidates for mammography. It's a good message to do breast self-exam every month and to see your doctor once a year.
Donna and I were out there for the exhibit and then played in the Pink Lynx tournament. Donna co-hosted the event. We had a great time out there, certainly for a worthy cause. The Faces of Hope exhibit will be on display at the Genesee and Highland Hospitals, plus there's a permanent exhibit currently showing at Grease Ridge Mall.
Detecting my breast cancer early has given me the opportunity to share this very special day with those who love me. There's no cure for breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. Please, be your own health advocate. Do it for yourself. Do it for them.
The Faces of Hope Breast Cancer Awareness Program.
A year after I received a negative mammogram, I discovered a lump in my breast, which a second mammogram revealed as positive. Through persistence of practicing regular breast health, I was fortunate to detect my breast cancer early, which saved my life and allowed me to give life to my daughter, Sydney. Please be your own health advocate. Do it for yourself and for those who love you.
Sponsored by the EYE Group, providing comprehensive radiology services for over 70 years.